We don't talk about money or sex in America.
Today on the show, we have a man who has literally done thousands and thousands of real estate deals. He could accurately be described as a so-called real estate guru, so to speak, and his company, Norada Real Estate Investments, is a nationwide firm with a vast portfolio. Marco, also an author and host of the super popular Passive Real Estate Investing podcast, in addition to being Think Realty's Master Investor of the Year. This man knows investing and real estate inside and out, and I'm sure he's going to knock it out of the park today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend, Marco Santarelli. Marco, how are you, friend? Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on the show. Yes.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we are going to get started, man. We got all kinds of stuff to cover today with you. And let me get this out of here. And I know you did in the real estate. I know you do massive real estate in multiple cities. Entrepreneur, right? Full-time entrepreneur. Yep. And but before we dive into all that, Master Investor of the Year, we got a book here we're going to talk about of your passive real estate. This is a new book coming out that you got coming out. We're going to talk about this as well. Before we go into all that stuff, right, which we got time to do that, I want the crowd to get to know you a little bit. If you can, just give us a high-level view kind of how you got into entrepreneurship, how you got into business in general. Where did that background come from? Did you come from a family of investors or business, or is it just you?
No, it's a good question. I wasn't born with privilege or a silver spoon in my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm kind of an unusual kid, if you will. For some reason, around 8 or 9, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. In fact, what I really knew at the time is I wanted to be rich.
Really?
And that was the word that I was using at the time. But today I differentiate what wealth and rich actually mean. To me, they're two different things.
Right.
But I just knew at around 8 or 9 that I didn't want to have a regular job. I didn't want to be the average quote-unquote Joe. And so I took it upon myself to actually start studying business, finance, and real estate, and entrepreneurship, even personal development in my early teens, which was an unusual thing for like a 13-year-old kid to do.
Yeah, it's very unusual, man.
So my father would be what you would probably label as the rich, the rich dad, poor dad concept.
Yeah, sure.
My dad was definitely the poor dad mentality. Not that he had a scarcity mentality, but he was ultra conservative.
Right.
My mother was a little bit more entrepreneurial, and so she, to some degree, inspired me to just, follow my passion and my dream, and I just started coding and reading books and learning about business and whatnot. So at an early age, I just knew that it was the path I wanted to follow.
You said a word that I want to dive into a little bit with you because it's such a unique one. I've heard a lot of people talk about, myself included, at an early age. Like I had this like weird, I call it the entrepreneurial spirit or the entrepreneurial bug, right? It's like I had a paper route that I got into and as a kid and so forth, and flipping baseball cards, all kinds of stuff, right? But you used the word that I'd never used as a kid, and as I interview people, I haven't heard a lot, was the word rich. You said at an early age, 8, 9, and I know there's a difference between rich and wealthy, but you had that concept of being rich. Where was that coming from? What did you grow up? Was it a more poor, like I grew up in a very, what I would call poor family. Where was the word rich? Where did that come from, the money side?
I don't exactly know where rich came from. I lived with my brother, my 2 parents, and my grandfather and my grandmother, 6 of us in a house, a small house. My brother and I actually slept in the living room because we didn't have enough bedrooms.
Yeah.
Both my parents worked. My mother actually worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. So for the longest time, I was not in any kind of money.
You think it was the rich part was because you saw it as a way to solve problems, whatever issues. Like for me, that's what it was for me growing up. Was like I could see it as a way to solve problems, basically. Was there that side of behind there, thinking about it?
No, I don't think as an 8 or 9-year-old, or even a 13-year-old, you're thinking about solving problems.
Yeah.
If there was any one problem, is how can I buy more toys? How can I, how can I be free without actually coming out and saying intelligently, I want to be free for the rest of my life? It was really about, hey, how can I live life on my terms? And I think, all kids are geniuses. you don't need to be an adult to realize that, hey, I need to take control of my future / financial future.
Right.
It's just at some point in time you come to that realization. Unfortunately, a lot of people, even as adults, don't come to the realization that, oh my God, I need to take care of my financial future and my family and actually figure out how to invest and get financial literacy. I was unusual in that sense. None of my relatives were wealthy or anything like that. They were entrepreneurial, but they were contractors or small business owners. That might have played into the whole thing, but I don't think that was it.
Do you think that kids who have that like child spirit, of just going out and doing, it's the kid that jumps off the ledge to his mom or dad's arms, right? That doesn't have that fear. Same thing in business. Do you think if adults had more of that childlike faith, maybe is the word I'm looking for, that they'd be more financially successful or more business owners out there versus that kind of analysis paralysis that a lot of adults get?
Yeah, I think that entrepreneurship is actually baked out of a lot of kids as they get older because parents actually spend a lot of time saying, no, don't do this, no, don't do that, which is really saying don't experiment, don't get out and try to be creative, be inventive, use your imagination. Like that. You need to be creative and inventive. In fact, some of the best entrepreneurs out there are actually very creative people. That is their number one skill, is creativity. And when you start to take that out of people, out of kids and young adults, you lose that ability to look for solutions and create solutions to problems. And I blame the school system to some degree on this because I call the school system public indoctrination camp.
Yeah, for sure.
It really is such a methodical assembly line of processing kids from grade to grade, getting in a line, sitting in seats, just following rules and directions, and really just being told what they need to learn and forced to memorize, not actually learn.
Right.
They're memorizing, not learning. And so that's why we homeschool my daughter, right from first grade. We took her out of kindergarten, and in first grade we were homeschooling her because we wanted her to flex her imagination and her mind and try new things and be creative and learn. And she's unbelievably smart. And I don't say that because I'm her father, but we just have so many parents tell us all the time, she's how old again?
Right.
It's really just giving them the ability to grow and have creativity. But that's what leads to entrepreneurship, because when they look around, if you're a parent that can actually show them that entrepreneurs are just people who are finding problems and solving them on scale, then those kids grow up to actually be aware of their environment and find problems that they can solve. And some of those people will actually become entrepreneurial.
Yeah, because in the school system, I like the term you use there, first, indoctrinate. I love that word that you use. I love the word baked. Because I think in the school system, I know for me, it was kind of difficult going through because like you said, it was a lot of memorize. Mm-hmm. But there wasn't that creative side that was pushed and, fed into the entrepreneurs who had that creative side of their brain. It was almost baked out of us to be stand in this line, go here, do this, memorize this, now put this on a piece of paper. A week later, okay, now we're gonna go to a different topic. Do you think there's any way to, I know with you, and I love the idea that you did, dude. Even earlier I heard you talking about you travel with your daughter as part of her education, like take her to Italy and see not just see the world on a vacation standpoint, but seeing it from a cultural standpoint and what they can learn from that. But do you think there's a way to adjust that in the schools, or do you think they ever will to kind of tweak that entrepreneurial? Because look at the schools are like built off of old 1800s concept. Yeah. Do you think they'll ever change that?
Not in the foreseeable future. The problem with the school system, it was built on a concept that came out of the industrial age, and kids had to be worker bees. So at a young age, you would go to school and you would be basically trained to be have a job, hold a job, and work for a large company or a factory. So you still had capitalism, you still had people who started and created and run businesses. But in the late 1800s and into the 1900s, this concept of school just carried on. Right. They were never teaching financial education. They weren't teaching entrepreneurship or how to run a business or balance a book or even write a check for that matter. And really that carried through. Still to this day, with some exception, you're not learning financial literacy in the school system. Yeah. I mean, listen, there are people that call me, and I talk to attorneys and CPAs that listen to my podcast and have years and years of education, and they even have MBAs, right. And they'll tell me that they've learned more from listening to my podcast for 6 months about investing and creating wealth than they did with
Through
their
an entire
MBA program. Right.
Yeah, because it's not really that side of actual kind of wealth creation. We talk about, I think you use the terms make it, grow it, and
keep it.
On that note, you just talked about your podcast. I know you have a massive podcast. I want to talk about that a little bit later. But let's kind of talk about where you're at right now, right? And there was a little bit of the background there. Let's talk about where you're at right now. What do you do right now? I know you're heavy into financial freedom, assets, and so forth. Give us just an overview of what you do now with your company.
So my main business, as you know, is Norada Real Estate Investments,
Right.
and it's a company that I started 16 years ago. We help people build passive income and create wealth through real estate. So we're simply helping them and educating them for free. Everything we do is at no cost. But we want to help educate them on the financial literacy that we're talking about, but specifically how real estate can help you create wealth and build passive income streams so you can get financial independence, financial freedom. So really, I layer it. There's financial independence, that leads to financial freedom. And I like to say the journey of the typical person is from financial frustration through to financial freedom. And then the goal of financial freedom is really not financial freedom itself. It's really time freedom. That's what people want, is ultimately to live life on their terms, do what they want, when they want, how they want, within the law. And that's why people want financial freedom. So real estate is the most powerful way to do it. It's probably the fastest way to do it, short of having a very successful, scalable business.
Right.
So that is the ultimate, is if you're an entrepreneur and scale and build a scalable business, that's great. But we want to focus on helping middle America and people of all ages and races and education levels build a real estate portfolio to create that passive income and wealth.
I like that journey you're taking them on from financial frustration.
Yes.
That's really good, because I think most of the world lives in financial frustration.
They do.
And I also see that a lot of people always talk about, oh, I want to be financially free, but it's almost, the people that I talk to, it's almost like they put that such high up on a pedestal that it's so far away from them that they actually never really get. It almost is just a dream or vague words they throw in the sky. And I think by having what you've created there, having that level of financial independence first, and then financial freedom, I think that's a really cool sort of stepping stone there. If you can, kind of define, what do you mean by financial independence versus financial freedom?
So if your lifestyle is $4,000 a month to pay all your bills and pay for groceries and really just cover your living expenses month to month and year to year, because you've got Christmas gifts and other things in that mix, and have a little bit left over, that's financial independence. You're making, if you make $4,000 a month in passive income, you're financially independent.
Okay.
If you had something happen, like a health problem or a car accident or a catastrophe or something, you'd be in trouble unless you had enough in savings and enough insurance. But your goal shouldn't be financial independence. I mean, financial independence is great in the grand scheme of things, but ultimately you should strive for abundance, the ability to not only live life on your terms and do all the things you want to do, like travel and maybe buy the car of your dreams and all that stuff, but also to be able to give back, to contribute, to teach other people, to give to charity, give to your church. Financial freedom is 10x financial independence.
Right.
So if you need $4,000 a month to live, shoot for $40,000 a month in passive income, and then the sky's the limit. Now you can actually give back and contribute. You could launch a podcast. Right?
It creates more of a purpose for a person.
It's
as well,
about purpose.
Yeah, because if your outgo is $4,000 in your example, and all you have is $4,000, there's not much more you're going to be able to go do or help anything in life, minus just live and exist basically without having to work a job, which I know most people would love. But if you have the financial freedom side of it, let's say it was a 10x of 4 be $40,000. If that same person was making $40,000 a month, now they could actually do stuff they actually really, really would get passionate about. And actually, I think freaking just love life.
Yep, the limitations
fullest,
go away.
Right?
The walls drop, the limitations, and the fear drops too. Now you don't have fear about trying new things, starting new businesses, going on adventures, whatever it may be, starting a foundation, doing what you're doing.
Because it unlocks so much more potential for the people, right? At your company, Norada, you've been in business for 16 years now, doing it. In those 16 years, how much have you kind of, let's talk about markets, into all different markets you go into and where you're at in those different markets. Just give me kind of a rundown, because you live in California, so I'm assuming you're probably not selling real estate in California.
No, California doesn't make sense, as many markets do. Now, that one question you just asked me, Andrew, we could probably talk for 4 hours.
Which
about
one, the markets?
The markets.
The markets,
The
okay.
markets. I mean, because you open up a whole can of worms here, which is great because it's all great content and information. It's the financial education that people need to have.
Right.
So in short, really, we classify markets into two categories, generally speaking. We've got cash flow markets and we've got growth markets. The cash flow markets don't see a lot of appreciation, but they're great in terms of cap rates and providing monthly cash flow, annual cash flow, cash on cash returns. The flip side is you've got growth markets, markets that are showing strong appreciation and poised to continue giving you strong appreciation rates above the historical norm. And there are really two different strategies why you would focus on one. One is really because you want income. You want income, you want it now, and you want it consistent and predictable. The other is you want to shoot for more equity growth over time because now you're going to take that equity and leverage it into more property and grow your wealth faster. It's kind of like a snowball effect.
If you get the equity side of it too.
Yeah, because you're going to tap into that equity and turn it into more property.
And just by that, just for clarity, are you referring to someone buys a rental property in a good market, one of your markets you're talking about,
Yep.
that they're getting cash flow monthly basis and they're getting equity growth on the same time, and then
Yep.
you haven't hit of course I know you're going to talk about depreciation value as well that's inside there, but on that growth of the equity side of it, when you talk about being able to grow, are you talking about where they can refinance back out of that property, pull that newly created equity back out and buy another one? Is that the concept you're referring to?
You could refinance and pull out. It's called a cash out refinance.
Yeah.
You're pulling out cash and you're taking that cash, which by the way comes out tax free. Which
I do love that piece of it.
I
man.
love that piece of it.
I love that.
There's many tax advantages to real estate. This is why it's such a powerful wealth creator.
Yeah.
But you can take that cash out, and this goes off on a bit of a tangent actually. But
let's chase it, man.
Let's chase it.
Let's chase
you
it.
Pull that equity out, and now you reinvest that equity into more property. And you're just building your portfolio faster. So if you're in markets where you're gaining equity from your tenant paying off the mortgage, which is amortization.
Which is also another crazy thing that someone else is buying a house for you. A tenant is literally buying a house for you, basically.
Right.
Which is a crazy concept to think about.
But back to the whole theme of the show, entrepreneurship and business.
Yeah.
You are a business owner running a business because you have these
As
properties. As an investor, you have these properties, and your mission as a property owner is to provide safe, clean, and functional housing for people. So you're providing them a service. In return, they're paying you fair market rent.
Which is a business.
It's a business.
Right.
Right.
You're providing, if you're a clothing store, you're providing clothing of whatever product, whether it be lower in or higher in clothing at a certain price.
Yep.
Same thing, right? You're providing a housing for someone, and in return, you're getting paid for that service.
You're selling a product or service.
Yeah,
and the service is safe, clean, functional housing.
Right.
Right? And if you provide those three things, they're going to pay you happily every month.
But can an average person working a regular job somewhere, right? Someone's listening right now, just an average person working an average job somewhere, could they really go out and buy a cash flow producing property and set it aside for retirement? Or, I mean, you hear it can be done, it can't be done. In your experience, you're 16 years into it. I mean, can the average worker at a UPS, whatever business, could they go do that?
I love that question. Short answer is yes. Before I expand upon it, let me jump back for 1 second.
Okay.
I want to close the loop on one thing you said.
Yeah, sure.
You said I live in California.
Right.
Okay. And there's pros and cons there. But the thing is you can't invest in California. It's very, very difficult, if not impossible, because it's very expensive. It's overpriced. And a lot of the cities and markets within California, you could arguably say are bubble markets where they're beyond the point of affordability.
Like a bubble in a bubble, basically.
Well, I call Orange County a bubble in a bubble.
Okay.
For different reasons, politically and otherwise.
Sure.
But the thing is that they're so expensive that why would you buy a one-bedroom condo for $1 million in San Francisco that only rents for about $4,500 a month? Like, yes, those are big numbers, but they don't make sense financially. You're not going to get the cash-on-cash return that you can get in other markets and just crush the returns you would get in California. Plus, you don't have the downside risk. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. The United States is a huge, huge country. It's made up of over 405 metropolitan statistical areas, at least the major.
405 different metro areas.
Yeah, I track 405.
Okay.
Those are the what I call primary and secondary markets, or
Okay.
tier 1, tier 2 markets. There's tertiary markets, which are the smaller, sub $100,000 populations.
Can you give us an example? Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3?
So Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York,
Miami?
San Diego.
Are those Tier 1s you're saying?
Yes.
Those are Tier 1s.
Yeah.
What would be like a Tier 2?
So the Tier 2 is where we focus as a company, because in a Tier 2 market you have affordability, you have the opportunity for population growth, price growth. The numbers make sense, so cash flows, you get good rates of return. Those would be like the Indianapolises, Kansas City, Missouris, Jacksonville, Floridas, Cape Coral, Floridas, the perimeter of Chicago, because Chicago is a Tier 1 market itself. Oklahoma City, these are all markets that make sense, in many, many ways.
Those are Tier 2.
Those are the Tier 2 markets
that you as a company like more, because you're getting more of the cash flow and equity growth there.
Biggest bang for the buck, growth, stability, predictability, diverse job market and economy leading to jobs and job growth, and that's why people want to live there and move there.
Okay.
So those are the fundamentals.
Wait, go back to Tier 3 though. You didn't give me a Tier 3.
Tier 3 are the really small markets, like 50,000 population, 100,000. Those are usually bedroom communities or markets that feed off the larger markets. They're a little more further out.
And you don't per se like those as investment opportunities, those the Tier 3 smaller markets. You wouldn't advise someone to go buy there per se?
I do. In fact, I'm buying 5 properties right now in Beloit, Wisconsin.
I never even heard of that.
Exactly.
Beloit?
That's my point.
Beloit, Wisconsin.
Beloit,
okay.
Yeah, it's in Janesboro, I believe Janesville or Janesboro County. I mean, I don't even know the name of the county. But the point is that it's a very small market that feeds off Madison.
Okay.
Right? So there's not a lot of population growth, but the numbers are phenomenal there from a cash flow perspective. So this is a total income play. I'm buying these properties because they provide great
Straight
cash
income.
flow.
Big on cash flow. What about on the Tier 3? Do you have the same equity growth, or is it really just more about cash flow play?
If you're in a Tier 3 market, it's pretty rare that you're going
Equity
after
growth.
Appreciation.
Let me ask you this. I mean,
It's
without
pretty rare.
getting too deep in the show, we don't have whiteboards and anything else like that.
Yeah,
Investors that work with you, if they were to call you up, right? And I don't even use the word maybe investors. I want to use the word someone who has a job that calls you up that's looking for.
So let's go back to your question.
Yeah.
Can the average, would you call
UPS driver.
UPS driver.
Right. Could they go buy a house? But and before I forget that question, where I want to go with you was, you give those people all that data of what markets, Tier 2, Tier 1.
We publish a ton of it on our website.
Yeah. So just as you answer the other questions, kind of tie those back together there of what you provide for them as well on that UPS driver. Go ahead.
Well, let's start with the average person.
Average worker, right?
So just to be clear, provide some color and context. The clients that we work with, the people that we like to help, are everyone from an 18-year-old that's just getting started and has managed to save $25,000 to buy their first rental property, to clients that we have that call us up and say, hey, I've got $1.7 million of investable capital.
Yeah.
I'm a professional, a CPA, lawyer, whatever it may be, but I don't have the time. And that's the common denominator with all these people is they've got cash and credit, so they can invest, but they don't have the time or the knowledge and or the expertise to do this on their own, and so they want to have that team now, and we give them all those team players that they need and the help and the education and holding their hand and walking them through the process, because it's all a system.
Right.
So the point of that is it applies to everybody, regardless of whether you're a busy professional or an 18-year-old just getting started, and you've been listening to the podcast, and now you're just saying, yeah, I need to get started investing in real estate. Because I started when I was 18 too, right?
Yeah. Real quick, what is the name of the podcast again for the viewers?
Passive Real Estate Investing. It's just a passive real estate investing show.
And he's being very extremely humble right now because I believe it's the #2 real estate podcast kind of in America right now, I believe.
Yeah.
With ratings and so forth. You've been on for 5 years. So if they want to get just a ton of content from you, it's passiverealestateinvesting.com, and that's the website, and then you have a podcast for it as well, right?
Yes.
And then book we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yep.
So go back to this driver or regular worker or professional, right? It could be a doctor, an attorney where they don't have the time basically, and maybe even the know-how, right? There's a lot of know-how inside of real estate, just like any other field of industry that's out there. You provide one of the things you're doing is you're providing them all the education they need as well, of understanding how it works, the goods, the bads, the pros, the cons. On the podcast is what you do, and then that kind of leads into, hey, if you like all this, here's how you buy a property now.
Yeah, I'm not selling anything on the show. It's like people know what we do just because the content is there and it's clear,
right?
What the business offers. But The podcast sits on its own. It's really just an educational medium where I can, me and my guests, i.e. you, can talk to a lot of people and share our knowledge and experience with other people so they can learn from what we've done and the mistakes that we've made. So and really 6 months seems to be that magic number. We get a lot of emails. I get a lot of emails from people.
6 months.
Yeah, people say, I've been listening to your show for 6 months. I've been consuming everything. I've listened to everything from episode 1 all the way through to 255.
That's where we are now, 255?
255.
Wow.
And they'll say, yeah, I get it. I love it. It makes sense. I should have started 10 years ago. Where were you 10 years ago in my life? And who do I talk to?
Right.
Right? But that just comes with educating people. So now they are aware. They take the red pill, as in the Matrix, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They take the red pill, they wake up and they realize, oh my God, why wasn't I doing this? Or why didn't someone talk to me about this before? Why didn't I learn this in school? How come all my friends, are not investing in real estate or wealthy? The problem is you need more friends.
You need to change that.
You need new friends, right?
Change the group of friends that you're with, man. And that's a whole other topic of talking about. I was just talking about last night at a dinner meeting is the power of the network, and
Huge.
those who you surround yourself with changes everything about you, right? There's all the famous like cliche things. Your net worth is your network, and show me your friends, I'll show you your future. It's kind of cliche, but it's 100% accurate and true.
It is.
For example, if someone were literally hanging out with you for 3 months straight, right, and they were almost shadowing you to a certain degree, the amount of information, data, and thought process, mindset would shift drastically just by being around someone like yourself that does investing, financial knowledge and so forth. Completely change what they do.
Yeah, you'll like this point. I belong to 5 masterminds.
5 different masterminds.
Five different masterminds.
If you don't mind me asking, how much do you spend a year on masterminds? Not traveling to them, stuff like that, just like big picture.
Yeah, that's another expense is the travel because you got airlines, hotels, and
hotel,
stuff.
all the other stuff. What do you think you spend in a year in kind of that mastermind world?
Probably close to 75,000.
So you're
maybe more.
Let's just call it 75,000 a year.
Yeah.
You're really spending on your network and your knowledge.
Well, there's 2 things. This is where I was going with it. There's the content and education and what happens in the mastermind.
Right.
But 50% of it, and this is my gripe today because this whole coronavirus thing is now these have moved to virtual events online. With Zoom, you're not actually traveling and talking to people in face to face. But I've actually made comments online saying the 50% of the value of going to mastermind meetings is what happens outside of the mastermind
After
meetings.
the mastermind.
Yeah, it's the networking that happens, when you go to dinner and you have, a couple of drinks or whatever with everybody who's there.
Bro,
it's led to so many other opportunities.
That's why I love them. That's exactly why I love them.
Well, the people that I've met and that I've networked with, I'm now co-producing some new Broadway musicals.
Yeah.
I'm buying some publicly traded companies that are no longer publicly traded because they're in bankruptcy, but we're just coming in and buying the intellectual property and then relaunching them as
because that network is what opens up opportunities.
Big
to me,
time.
network opens up opportunities, right? You talk about exactly what you said there. Public company going through bankruptcy, and now because you met someone networking, now you have the opportunity to go invest inside that company going bankrupt that's there, right?
Well, Napoleon Hill's been talking about it in his book Think and Grow Rich since what, the 1940s?
Right.
So, I mean, if you're an
It's not a
entrepreneur,
new concept that we're talking about here.
If you're a business owner or an entrepreneur listening to this, the first thing you should do is find a mastermind that fits your niche or a marketing or business related mastermind, because what you gain from it is far more than what you.
Let's talk about your mastermind.
Okay.
Are you going to start one? Do you have one?
Well, we've been talking about one, yes, and I would like to start one.
You need to start one.
We will.
You need to start one. What day you want to start it on?
Hopefully by the end of this year.
I'm putting you on the spot, man, because I think you have so much freaking knowledge that's legit knowledge. There's a lot of I'm gonna use this word. It may not be the right word, but I'm gonna use the word. There's a lot of posers, kind of in that space. Yeah. And dude, you have legitimate data, content, expertise. 16 years in the business, multiple markets out there, and I think it's time for you to open up that mastermind, brother. I think you could help a lot of people.
You and I should put on our kicking boots and talk to our buddy Eddie and see if we can get this thing launched.
Yeah, I think you would be great at it because, again, there's a lot of masterminds, and I think because you've been in so many of them, you see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting in a room and us going through whatever topic that's there. It's also about spending time with, getting to know people. It's what we did today, right? Like, the value of us getting together and networking and talking, to me, is total value. It may not pay off today. It may pay off in 3 months or 3 years from now. But you got to be willing to put that time in there. And I think a lot of business owners want that money or that success freaking immediately.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that through my career, I would say my entire career has been built off of networking and the slow play into meeting people, and sometimes it turns out and sometimes it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Because you go to masterminds and sometimes you may meet somebody that never turns into any actual success or value.
I know this is a little outside the topic of our conversation.
We go
here
anywhere
today,
you want to.
But business owners and entrepreneurs are listening to this. So one of my business partners, actually, a guy you probably know, love him or hate him, Tai Lopez.
Oh yeah.
So Tai Lopez and I are invested.
That's cool, man. You're a partner with him?
Yeah, we're in like 4 or 5 deals together.
Right on, man.
So he actually illustrated a concept. The whole network translates to your net worth. A lot of truth in that.
Right.
But he took it one step further, and he charted this out on a whiteboard, and he had a graph that was going up, and then an event happens, and then you kind of launch to this whole other level, and then you kind of
plateau a little bit.
Plateau a bit, and time goes by.
Okay.
And another event happens, a major event in your life, and you leap to another level and another level. And so the chart kind of looks like this.
Right.
He says, if you think back and you look at what happened when you leaped to another level, it was usually because of someone you met or someone you partnered with because you've met.
Wow.
That you came together and you created a new business, or you joined forces and you started working together, you formed a partnership or strategic alliance that kind of launched you to a whole other level in life or in business.
Right.
And I thought back and I thought, yeah, it's like all the events were because of something or somebody, like something big.
Right. So are you saying that, I was wondering if this is where you're going with it, or he was going with it, Tai, is it a thing where it's like that's allowing you, if you're in the mastermind, you're almost feeding that machine, that timeline you're referring to,
Yeah,
right?
you're in the environment.
You're kind of stimulating and trying to hopefully create that environment, right? That allows you to have that next little bump inside it versus just waiting on it for however long it goes, and then it naturally happens. Creating that mastermind is allowing you to kind of force, hopefully, if you will, the bump to happen.
It's a catalyst. You're in the group of people that will help. When you click and connect with the right person in that group, that you can do something together and you resonate. And now you launch something new, something creative. That's where the creativity comes in. It's like, wow, 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah.
And it happens because of networking. And there's no better place for that to happen other than in a mastermind group or a large networking event, because you're with like-minded people, and together you can come together and do something bigger, better that you can't do on your own.
I love it, man. I want to kind of shift gears here with you, because I want to come back to that, because you mentioned a topic a while ago, and I want to get your thoughts and insights on, you threw out the word coronavirus. And I want to get your kind of thoughts on what you see there, how it's going to affect the economy, how does that affect real estate. I want to kind of talk through that for a second, just because I think it's a super relevant point to where we're at right now. Before we do that, let's kind of shift gears here. I'm going to come back to that coronavirus point. I want to talk about some of your favorites, okay? So I'm going to ask you a handful of questions here. And I want to get the crowd to get to know you a little bit, the viewers who don't maybe know as much as they should know about Marco and what you do. So I'm going to get some of your a little bit more personal side of Marco here.
Is this where I get myself into trouble?
For sure. You will for sure get in trouble, and we will not edit this no matter what. Here we go. Right. Now, some of these are simple, man. One of them, I'm just asking you, what is, besides yours podcast, the Passive Investing Podcast, what is your favorite podcast?
I probably don't have a favorite, because I always get something out of everything I listen to. There's always nuggets. But if you're going to paint me into a corner and I have to pick one of them, probably would be Rich Dad Poor Dad, just because my investment philosophy aligns very closely to Robert Kiyosaki's.
Do you ever listen to any random podcasts? Like, I listened to one called Case Files. That is just about like mystery and old crimes that took place. Do you ever listen to it, or are you all education on your podcast?
My whole bookshelf, I've probably got 2,000 books, literally, on bookshelves.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have one fiction book other than Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, it's really not a fiction book.
It's a high-level philosophy which changed so many people, right?
Yeah, actually, there's one more book that I'm going to plug here. It's not mine. I interviewed the author. He's such a great guy. It's a new book, and it's probably the competitor, if you will, or the companion to Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's called The Wealthy Gardener.
Okay.
It's a really thick book. It's great. Every chapter is short. Each chapter has a lesson, and it's all about, financial education and wealth, but in the form of a story about the wealthy gardener.
A wealthy gardener. It's like a companion to Rich Dad.
Absolutely. Great book.
Man. Yeah. So your favorite podcast is the Rich Dad?
Probably Rich Dad Poor Dad. I don't agree with everything Robert Kiyosaki says, but because he ruffles a lot of feathers. But hey, you know, it's good content, right?
It is what it is. I mean, I think one of his best books, I've read like every book that he has, and a lot of them start to somewhat sound a lot alike sometimes, because the philosophy is a philosophy. It is what it is. You can't really create a new philosophy of how it works. So sometimes they kind of run together. But he wrote one a while back that I freaking loved, and I think it was like the oh man, I think the title of it was something to do with the financial conspiracy or
Fake.
Yeah, there was one that he wrote, Fake, but he talks a lot about
Conspiracy of the Rich.
Conspiracy of the Rich. Yeah,
Great book.
I freaking love that one, dude.
Awesome book.
I absolutely loved him going into the conspiracy of the rich and that whole I read it on vacation one time, and I absolutely was enamored by that book there with the Federal Reserve and all the different stuff and how they kind of, I'll use the word manipulate markets and so forth. And I know sometimes he goes out there. And we're not a conspiracy theorist show, but dude, there was some really good content in that conspiracy theory. And he goes down some crazy angles there.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff actually is all well documented.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. There's no fluff in there.
Yeah.
Here's a funny story. I'll tell you in 10 seconds.
Yeah, shoot.
Rich Dad Poor Dad was. I read it back in 2004, 2003, somewhere around there. But what's funny about that is my wife and I were on vacation in Italy. And we were on a train from Rome to Florence.
Right.
Everybody's like looking out the window of the train, amazed by the scenery going by, the old buildings, the trees, the sun, and everything else. And here I am, this nerdy guy sitting in the train reading Rich Dad Poor Dad cover to cover, like my head down the whole time. It's like I'm missing everything. But it's a book you just can't put down.
You cannot put it down, man. I read it. I remember I read it I was in college around that time frame, 2000, I think 3, 4, about the same time I read that same book there, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I was in college, and I'd be sitting in classrooms with like whatever book it was in, and I had Rich Dad like inside that book, reading that book.
Yeah, it's great.
Versus whatever they were trying to make me memorize something. But dude, it completely altered and changed. I mean, I have no problem giving him a ton of credit for how it affected my life and how it affected me financially. And yeah, if you haven't read it, man, you for sure read it. On the podcast, let me move to this one. What is your favorite social media platform?
Probably Instagram.
Is your favorite one?
Yeah, just from a marketing perspective, I just think the greatest potential right now is Instagram. Now that can change in 2 years because they come and go. Like once it was Snapchat, and before that it was MySpace.
Were you a big MySpace guy? I was going to ask you that.
No.
You a big Google Plus guy?
No. No. You know what? Honestly, I'm not big into social media.
Really? Because you're a marketing guy.
I am a marketing guy.
I mean,
you
have a mind for it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'm all about marketing and branding.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but this is my opinion. Gary Vaynerchuk and I would argue about this all day long.
I love it.
But he's big into social media because he built his brand and he built his business on the back of social media.
Right.
Which included YouTube, by the way, which is social media.
Right.
I look at my stats. I'm a data guy.
Right.
I look at my stats on Google Analytics and I look at how much traffic comes in from Google Analytics to our websites, and we get 250,000 visitors a month.
Okay.
Well, just on the one website. And less than 5% of it is from social media.
Really? Like there's coming through?
Right. Traffic.
Yeah, traffic coming through social media to your site.
Right.
On your social media, are you posting about real estate and stuff like that?
Every day, but it's not me. It's my assistant.
It's your assistant posting it?
Yeah.
What do you think would happen if Marco Santarelli posted it? Like if it was you posting you at houses, or you training at a house inside of it, would that drive more?
Well, that's where I'm going this year. So
are you?
Yes, yeah. So we're gonna
man.
launch our YouTube channel and do all kinds of.
Yeah, I think it would do good for you, man. Because in social media you have the ones where I've done it as well, where like other random people are posting for you, and it's good deliverable content or photos or whatever it is. But it's amazing when you get because an assistant can't replace your brain, your personality, your knowledge. It's impossible, right? And so when you get on social media, we have different viewpoints or angles inside of it. And when you post those, I think it'd blow your social media up.
I totally agree. Well, I agree with Grant. I talked to Grant about this, Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
And his whole philosophy is you need to be omnipresent.
Yeah, he's an
omnipresent person. So he wants to be everywhere and anywhere all the time, and he wants to be in your face.
Right.
And that's
like
great.
Like him or not.
Like him or not, no.
Some people love him, some people hate him, but the point is you know who he is.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
if you're in
his
this
point.
business, you know who he is.
That's exactly what he says. Love me or hate me, you know who I am. That's exactly what he says.
You said it right, your partner Tai Lopez, right? Same kind of philosophy. I mean, some people love him, some people hate him. That's irrelevant. People are going to love you and people are going to hate you no matter what you freaking do. Matter of fact, one of Grant's points that he talks about a lot is if people are not hating you, you're probably not making a hard enough stance.
That's exactly it. Exactly. If you don't have enemies and people like posting negative things about you online, you're not getting it out to enough people.
Because think about it, how many successful people that do you know that have not ever been attacked, sued, whatever it is, right? Talked about in a negative way? Because when you get bigger, taller, more successful, people naturally are going to attack you. It doesn't matter, right? You're going to get attacked no matter, the bigger you get, you're going to get attacked. It's lonely at the top.
It's an unnecessary consequence that goes along with.
I was thinking about the quote they talked about when, like, at when trees, there's a saying that says, it's like one of those quotes that they put on the iceberg one, right? But it's like at the top, the successful are at the top, and that's where the tree sways the most. Where most people want to be at the base of it, where it doesn't ever move. But it takes a unique person to go to the top and is willing to, sway and let the wind blow.
Well, you don't want to be at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's comfort, and that's the trade-off to freedom.
Yeah.
You have to choose one. You're either going to be free or you're going to be comfortable.
That's good.
You can't have both.
Yeah. Why do you think most people choose the freaking comfort then?
Because it's easy. And it's what they know, and they grow up in a comfortable environment.
Yeah.
If you want to be free, if you want to be financially free and have time freedom, you need to get out of your comfort zone. You cannot be comfortable. You need to. I don't want to say it on camera here, but you
say whatever you want, brother.
You need to go balls to the wall.
Yeah.
And
it's true.
And you need to hustle and work as hard as you can for as long as you can until you break out.
Yep, I agree.
And the only way to do that is to get out of your comfort zone. And I had to do that for years and years and years. And for the longest time, it looks like you're not building anything. There's no momentum. It's why am I doing this?
Yeah.
But then, people 16 years later look back and say, dude, you're like an overnight success. No, I've been running hard for 16 years. It's an overnight success that was 16 years in the making.
Yeah, that's all it took. That's all it took was 16 years.
Yeah, but people don't give you credit for that because they look at where you are today. They don't look at all the sweat.
I agree, man. I think you got to go wide open. I think a lot of business owners are timid and they dabble into it. And there's no way you're going to think about it. It's like a race. How are you going to compete with someone who's running a freaking sprint, who's willing to put 2-a-days in and train and eat right and nutrition in business, and you want to take it like it's a part-time, and dabble into it and not commit to the process? How are you going to compete at that same level with that same person? You know what I mean? I think so. You got to go wide open when you go into that business model like you're talking about there.
And you have to think big. You can't just say, I'm going to put my toe in the water, or I'm going to try this, or I'll give it a year. No, man. You need to go hard and fast, and you need to grow as fast as you can and scale. If you think small, all you're going to get is small. And the problem is that most people fail. It's probably like 85% of businesses in the U.S., which is about 26 million businesses. 85% of those businesses will fail because they're thinking too small. They're not thinking big business. They're thinking solopreneur. They really need to learn how to grow that business and scale. And when they get to the point where they've got cash flow, you need to hire, because now you're doubling down on the number of hours that you're investing in the business. It's not just your time anymore.
You're multiplying
that was one of the best things I ever did, is I started hiring people in the business, because now I'm scaling I'm leveraging my time and my effort through other people.
Right.
And now it's like 2, 3, 4 people's worth of hours per month, per week, per year.
Yeah.
And that's when I saw my growth curve grow. Yeah, huge.
Was when you started hiring.
Huge change.
When you started hiring people.
Yes.
Because it expands who you are as a person, expands who you are as a thinker, right? As a leader, it changes all that different stuff to it, right?
Sales is critically important. If you're not training yourself, in fact, if you're going to be a business owner or an entrepreneur, that's the first place to start. You need to teach yourself sales, because if you can't sell, you don't have a business.
Really? So if someone's starting today, you would tell them to jump in sales training first.
Number one skill.
Yeah.
If you don't have sales and revenue, you don't have a business.
Right.
You won't be in business for very long.
In your words, you got to make the money first. You got to make it. You say make.
Right.
What do you say? Make.
Make it, grow it, keep
grow
it.
it and keep it. You
Yeah.
got to make it first, which means you got to know how to sell.
Right.
Every business out there is something to do with sales. You're not going to get around it.
Yeah, once you have revenue, once you have income, now you can scale your business, and that's growing it. And you can take that and invest it into real estate and other things, and grow that money. Right. We're talking about money here.
Yeah.
So how do you make money? Then how do you grow that money so it becomes passive streams of income? And now you scale that and you create multiple streams of income, and you
Right.
scale that to the point where you have true financial freedom.
Yeah.
And then you got to protect it so you don't lose what you built, right?
Yeah. So you like grant from the sales
So grant
side
for sales, grant for real estate.
and real estate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tai is a deal maker.
Yeah, he is.
Like, call him what you want. The guy is a deal maker, right?
Yeah, I really think he's like, I use the word hustler, man. He is to me, deal maker. He's always putting stuff together, basically.
Yeah.
He's always grinding
Yeah,
and putting stuff together.
he's the guy above the CEO. He's the guy who's going to create the deal, put the deal together, create a business, and then bring the CEO and other people in to run it. And then once that's an operating business, on to the next one, on to the next one. Yep.
I know you know him quite well. Is he like heavy entrepreneur, like just who he is as a person?
Big
wants
time.
to create it and then build it and kind of, I'm not going to use the word walk away from it, but let someone else run it, create it, build it, walk away, create it, build it, walk away.
Yes.
Does he do a lot of that? That's like his personality or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah. I find that myself a lot. Like I love the build, the create and the build part. I love that side of it. I actually do not enjoy the managing side of it, of the business. I do not enjoy the day-to-day operational side of it. I struggle with that, but I love the creative building side of it.
Yeah, and so do I. And the reality is that different entrepreneurs have different personality types.
Right.
Some people are very strong in the organizational, operational side of it.
Yeah.
I'm good at that, but I'm not great at that. But where I have my flow, my energy, where I thrive, where I get up in the middle of the night, and it's like I need to take these ideas down.
Oh yeah, I have that.
Is the creativity side, right? And that's really where entrepreneurs are most skilled at.
Right.
They know how to start great things, but they just don't know how to finish those things because they can't carry it through to completion. That's where they need to bring in strong support staff around them to handle the operations and the accounting and all the other stuff.
I'm going to give a massive plug here to Eddie Wilson, because he does so much of that management. Like that's his passion drive. I know you know him.
Yeah.
Like that's his whole like freaking concept that he eats, sleeps, and lives by, is that management. I call it the COO side of the business, which I just freaking. He starts talking to me. I'm like, that's really good, but I have no idea what you're talking about. But he's built multiple successful and runs them, like massive companies, on the management side. But my mind is more like yours, where I like wake up in the middle of the night and I have a certain routine that I had to create, because I had to find a way to feed that creative side, right?
Yeah.
And because almost like go back to almost what we were talking about earlier with school systems, where it was almost baked out of you to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And I had to go back and kind of retrain and develop and let it come out and let it be natural. Did you ever run into the problem of like on the entrepreneurial side of like talking too many ideas out loud with people around you, like family, or when you first got started? Did you ever run into a problem of talking about businesses or about concepts out loud too much? You ever run into that one?
Yeah, the problem with families, they don't listen to you because they've known you since you were a kid, and they discount your great ideas because, oh, it's just Marco.
That's
right?
true, yeah.
Right? It's not until you reach like a certain level of success that they look at you and say, yeah, he's pretty good at what he does. But they still won't admit, they won't give you full credit in your face.
Sure.
But they recognize what
It's funny,
what
like
you're
people outside will pay me to sit down and talk with them, like and just eat it up and write down every last word that I'm saying about whatever topic we're diving into. And I'll go home with my family, and they completely like ignore me, like I have no concept of
we
business.
all experience that. My whole family, they lost money in real estate. They've tried to buy, fix, and flip, buy, fix, and hold so many properties.
Yeah.
Have they come to me for advice? Never.
Really?
Not once.
That's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's even unique because like you and I have family that still now are what I would call broke, and I'm going to use broke. I'm going to use the word broke mindset. Financial mindset, because I think that's where we're starting from. And even though I do all this stuff, like you said, they won't reach out, they don't talk to me, they don't ask any questions. They just kind of ignore it, like I have no value, if you will, to it. So let me go back here. You had Grant, it was Tai. Go to Gary. What's your thoughts on Gary?
So I love Gary V because he's very authentic. He started from basically nothing, working for his dad in the wine store and doing videos, and I think he recognized the power of it.
Yeah.
But he's a brilliant marketer. He can see into the future.
Yeah.
So I really like a lot of what he has to say.
Good insights.
Yeah.
Into different. He's definitely a trend reader of different things.
Yeah,
right?
I listen to Gary V. I love his stuff.
Yeah. So you got Gary, Grant, and Tai there. Let me ask you this one. Let's go back to your favorite stuff here. Do you have a favorite productivity platform? Technology based.
How are you defining a productivity?
Productivity,
tool?
like I use a lot of a platform called Trello.
Okay.
For production, where I kind of manage productivity and my staff and so forth in a platform called Trello. Do you use anything like that?
No, I really live religiously for my calendar, and it took me literally years to figure out how to use a calendar properly.
Okay.
And the greatest thing I mastered.
Dude, I should do a show with you. Like, and I have a classroom studio. I'm a productivity nut. I would love to do a show with you and have you teach how to use a calendar the right way. I've never heard anyone freaking say what you just said. Use a calendar the right way. I'd love for you to show me how to go do that. That'd be sick, dude. I'm gonna record you teaching that on a whiteboard. So that's what you do is a calendar.
Yeah. So here's the bottom line with a calendar. You have to treat it like the Bible. It is sacred because you have a finite amount of time in your life and every day, and what you plan to do in your calendar is what you have to prioritize and make sure that it is the right thing to do at the right time with the right people.
Right.
So whatever you put in that calendar, you have to follow and live by. Now, you have to have some room for error. But the bottom line is this: I've given up on task lists. I don't even have a task manager task list anymore.
Right.
If I need to do it, it goes in my calendar, and I follow it and I stick to it, and that's really the be all end all.
Yeah.
So if it's in there, it's important and it has to be done. And if it's not in there, it just floats on the top from day to day, and I push it forward. But I'll get to it if I can today. Otherwise, what's actually on a specific time is what I do at that specific time.
Obviously I know a little bit about you. Like, we haven't done a ton of stuff or anything together, but I know a little bit about you, your personality, character. And I was telling my staff this morning before you came in, you were getting here at 9:30, and we were talking. I said to Drew, who you work with, I said, I promise you, Marco will be here early. Just knowing who you are as kind of a person. There's other people that will get like I would literally tell my staff, they'll be late. Don't worry. I knew Marco was going to be early today. Like, I told him he would be early, and I guess maybe that's where it's coming from, is that source of the freaking calendar that you live by in that process. And I don't even know that well. I just know that you have that personality of
and I
respect.
actually considered, thank you, but I considered myself actually late because Uber was running behind.
And you were Texas on the way here on it as well. Right on, man. Let me go to another one here. A little bit the same concept here, but communication platform. So like for mine, to give you an example, would be Slack. I use Slack a lot on communication. Do you do anything like? Do you any hacks like that you use?
I tried Slack, but my team didn't like it, so we didn't adopt it. But I was trying to use it. So really, at the end of the day, it's like email. Email is my kind of my to-do list.
Okay.
In the inbox, and it's really other people robbing you of your time.
I know that's why.
That's what an inbox is.
Yes.
So I don't actually like email, but it's a productivity tool that you have to live with. So email and my calendar are really the only tools I use. Other than that, it's just messaging apps on my phone, like texting. If it's quick, text me. If it's a conversation, stop. Move it to email, and I'll get to it when I can.
Gotcha. Do you use WhatsApp at all?
I do, but again, it's just a messaging platform.
Right.
I've got 5 or 6 messaging apps, Hangouts and whatever else. But it's just for quick questions, quick answers. Just
I use WhatsApp a lot because I like creating the groups of certain people that I have different things that we're going to talk about. A lot of times, several times we'll talk about. I use that one for communicating a lot. On the quick go stuff, I use the WhatsApp. And I like it because I can name it, basically. I can name whatever chat I want to name it, I can name it, so we can go back to it and search it up pretty quick. This is a little bit more personal. Favorite place to travel?
Italy.
Italy? Now you're from there, right?
I'm 100% Italian. My parents were born in Italy, moved to Canada. I was born and grew up in Canada, moved to the U.S. But Italy is my favorite place.
Italy's your favorite place right now?
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, great culture, great food, great people, great world history, art. Yeah. The world revolved around Rome at one time. Remember that?
Yeah, I love the Roman Empire, and there's a great documentary on Netflix that I watch. I just got into it recently on the Roman Empire, if you've seen it or not. It's a great Roman Empire documentary, and I love documentaries, man. That's like my jam. And there's one on Roman Empire, dude. If you like documentaries and Italy, Rome, mine is so good. Favorite holiday? Marco's favorite holiday?
Christmas.
You hesitated on it.
Well, I was gonna say Halloween, but that's not really a holiday.
No, I have one of my friends who full on Halloween is his jam. Like it is his favorite holiday. He's in Florida, down close to where I live, and does massive. He won't work. Takes a week off of work, like other people do for Christmas. He does it for Halloween, and then has this like massive, not even like in the haunted house type stuff. He has a big barn, and he turns into this like great Halloween festival type thing. And but he loves it. That is his holiday. Is yours Halloween, truthfully, though?
Well, Halloween for the fun, Halloween, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's probably wrong.
It's for the fun of it, right?
Yeah.
It's totally commercialized. I mean, every holiday has been commercialized. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But Christmas is the time, especially being Italian, where Italians are very close.
Yeah, the family.
Family
culture.
is a big value for Italians. But Christmas was just time where we'd see relatives all the time. It was all about getting together and having fun and celebrating and eating and eating and more eating. And
because Italians are known for the long dinners
2 hour,
that just keep
2 hour
going
dinner.
and more food is brought up constantly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Is that how it is at Christmas time too at your place with your family?
Yeah,
a lot of food there.
A lot of food.
This is a good one then. If Christmas is your favorite holiday, the next question is, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
It's kind of that cult classic. You watch it every year. It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life, the black and white one.
Yeah.
It's an old school black and white.
That's
with
great.
The angels gets their wings. I think it is.
It's a great story, but I like the banking element in there. It's got the whole fractional reserve banking.
Yeah,
it's
they actually kind of
my money's in your house, and your house, and your house.
Yeah, it actually has some good little nuggets of money truths in there.
Big time.
In a Christmas movie, which is kind of unique, right? Like Home Alone 2 has nothing about fractional banking or anything in that, but freaking It's a Wonderful Life. This is a true investor here, man. Even his Christmas movies have to do with money out there.
It's all about money.
Right on. Let me ask you this. I'm going to go back to the topic we were talking about a while ago. Just going to dive into a little bit. And for the viewers, I want to talk about, get your thoughts on kind of coronavirus that hit. How does that affect? How does it affect market? How does it affect your customers that have houses, in markets and so forth? Any thoughts on it? Let's talk about the topic there, coronavirus.
Okay, so I might break this down into three pieces. So if you own income-producing property, if you already have rental property, especially if you have apartment complexes or larger multi-unit, you definitely have been affected. From February and March to June this month, there was a 24 point something, almost 25% drop in collected rents. Now this is being measured during the first week of collections, because that's really when most of the collections come in. Of course, there's people who pay late, so you have to include that. But bottom line is that there's been a measurable and significant drop in collected rents. It wasn't so bad in the first month because there were subsidies from the federal government.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this stat, and this is looking at 206,000 rental properties across the country, just a random sampling.
Not yours.
Not ours.
Just random 2,000.
Right.
Okay.
This was a study done by I forgot the company. I'll get it. I'll get back
put it in
to
the show notes for you. Give it to me. We'll put it in the show notes.
Right. So what they found this was very interesting is that of all the people that had auto pay set up, where deposits were going in through ACH, the change was about 1%, less than about 1.7%, but it was about 1%.
Okay.
Where there was a missed payment.
So out of the ones
So
who
it was
had
like clockwork.
out of the ones who had auto pay, 1% did not go through that month.
For those people that had auto pay, instead of dropping it off or cash or
mailing
a check or whatever it is. So that was kind of interesting. But so we've all seen this kind of lull because of people being furloughed or laid off. I mean, it was inevitable, right? You saw it coming. When the government comes in, shuts down an economy, you're going to see all kinds of unintended consequences.
Right.
So now for those people who are investing, it may affect them, but it'll affect them short term. Hopefully they've been budgeting for it. They have operating capital, so they can kind of float it. But we'll come out of this. It might take 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. We're not sure. I don't have a crystal ball, but we'll get through this, because at some point people will get back to work. Some people will be displaced. They'll end up in other jobs with other companies, but they'll have an income again where they can start paying you rent every month. For those people who are asking the question, I just got this question a couple days ago and I answered it on my podcast. Is it now a good time to be investing in cash flow in properties, right?
Right.
And I said, yeah, absolutely. Because do you think what we're seeing right now is going to, go on for months and months or years and years? Absolutely not. We have a fundamental housing problem in this country. There's a lack of housing. We're short by about 1.5 million housing units.
Interesting.
And that carries over from year to year, and it's actually getting worse, not better. This coronavirus thing actually perpetuated the problem, made it worse, because now builders are not building, contractors are home because they're being forced to stay. So business has been put on hold, and so we're now no longer feeding into the supply that we need because of the demand for housing from population growth and people migrating to the US and whatnot. So the problem is getting worse. So that demand is keeping prices propped up, and it's pushing rents and prices up in markets where there is a shortage. In fact, what's funny is that this is buying season for a lot of people where they buy a home. And because a lot
time of the year, you're saying?
It's that time of year,
okay.
right? It's you know,
Summertime, so
it's buying season, selling season, whatever you want to call it. So a lot of real estate agents are noticing that what they would normally have for days of inventory or months of inventory on the MLS is actually a lot less, by as much as 40%. That means sellers who would normally be selling right now are not selling. They're holding back out of fear, not knowing what the future holds. But at the same time, buyers are coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, well, I still have the capital or the down payment to buy. That hasn't changed. And interest rates are still historically low, so I want to buy, but I don't have the inventory. I can't find the housing. The housing stock's not there. So it's not only keeping prices propped up, but it's still appreciating in a lot of markets.
Interesting. With the corona, do you think there's going to be do you see any after effect in real estate with what happened with corona? In maybe 9, 12, whatever it is, no crystal ball?
My crystal ball is that there will be a small wave of foreclosures because people are living on the edge. You know, 49% of the U.S. population can't put $400 together in the case of an emergency.
That's crazy. When I heard that stat.
Yeah, it was 47, went up to 49, so that's why I kind of hesitated on the number. But let's call it half the population. They can't put $400 together if they came, you know. Now, granted, most of those people probably rent anyway, right? That particular demographic. But the thing is it's going to force people into a situation where they're going to go into foreclosure, and if they can't bail themselves out because they didn't get employment, you know, within 3 to 6 months, they're probably facing a foreclosure. And so there will be probably a mini wave.
There'll be a mini wave.
Not because of credit. This is a different situation than 2008.
08, right? 08 was all credit based. You're saying there may be a mini wave of foreclosures hit, but that's gonna be more of job based. Couldn't get a job back in time or whatever it is. You think you may see a small wave of that hit in the future?
Probably in a year.
Do you think that with giving, right or wrong, I don't know, but it was giving how America stepped in and just gave away again, just started pumping cash and started pumping it everywhere. One fear that I kind of had was like, dude, it just feels super like socialistic to a certain degree. Whereas like, we're going to give you money. We're going to change. You know, they went from you have unemployment of 365, whatever the number is, right? Every state's a little bit different, and then they came up with a $600 a week, you know, program that they're pumping out, and then you have it's harder for people. People are not wanting to go back to work as much, and do you see that where as a country we just keep pumping money into a system? Do you think it's going to affect what we have going on here as an overall country? Like, when there's a bill sitting there right now for $3 trillion bill being passed right now, or trying to be passed right now.
Will it have an effect? Absolutely. It's already having an effect. You know, we just put $4.2 trillion into an economy, into a country. You know, that is unheard of. It's unprecedented. Nobody's ever done that before.
Done it before, right? Is that the biggest one that's ever happened? The 4.2?
That's the biggest injection ever.
Yeah, injection.
You know, like it goes from bad to worse to even worse. You know.
I know you're a finance guy. I know, that's why I'm asking these questions. You have that background in it. Do you remember what 2008 injections were? Do you any all the tarps they had and stuff? Do you remember anything? Just for comparison.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember exactly. 1.8 or $2 trillion. Now I don't know if that was the entire Obama administration period.
Right, because there was the Bush at the end.
But it seems like every president lately is doubling up on the previous president in terms of what they're injecting into the local economy. But that's not good, because when you have $4.2 trillion being pushed into the economy, it's floating out there somewhere, right? In this particular case, it didn't start from the top and trickle down. It started at the bottom and trickled up. You know, because it went straight to consumers.
Right.
But that's a very inflationary, because when you put a lot more currency into the system, you're diluting the existing money supply, and that becomes inflationary. And you may not see it right away, because what's holding it back is the lack of velocity. When there's velocity with money, that's when you see inflation really kick in. But people are hoarding right now because they need the money. They're scared. So if they have anything to save, they're going to save it. They're going to sit on it. They're not spending it.
Right.
You know, we're not going out buying the new TVs and cars right now. Can't anyway, because the stores are closed. But it's when you start to see that velocity of money that you start to see the effect of inflation kick in. And this is terrible. I mean,
you think we will have an inflation bubble come from this right here?
I don't know if it would be a bubble, but there's certainly going to be inflation at some point. It has to.
It's the whole thing that worries me about is having that, where you're kind of handing out money And like you said, it's kind of the first time they started handing out the bottom, right? Because the last time we'll call it the credit crash for now, but in the credit crash, it kind of all went to the top.
It went to banks. It went
layers.
to Wall Street,
Yeah.
to institutions.
And we, as
bailouts.
consumers, right, we didn't really feel it. But this time, it's like, no, man, like I got family that's getting money left and right, and it's unique to see. I think it's unique to see what's going to happen, because I'm just wondering if you're almost getting people. I'm gonna use this terminology, almost like addicted to. Getting middle class, if you will, addicted to free money. Does that make sense?
Well,
with all the money that's being handed out, it almost has like, to me, it's like a scary topic there.
Well, you mentioned conspiracies and conspiracy theories before. You know, we shouldn't go down that road, but if you really want to throw a ball out there and just see where it lands, you could even argue that maybe there is some sort of conspiracy going on. Not theory, but actual conspiracy going on by taking advantage of this coronavirus situation, whether it was man-made or not, planned or not, but to take it and call it a crisis and take advantage of it and have the federal government and governments around the world, including Canada, inject money into the system as a trial balloon to see if universal basic income, the UBI.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to go down.
Right. Like maybe we can put the general population, civilians, onto this monthly payment of $600, $1,200 a month as basic income. You know, other civilizations have tried it in the past. It doesn't last very long. It really just leads to a collapse of a civilization. But that's really another step towards socialism, right?
Yeah, to me that's where it feels like it was almost like I'm not saying it was or not. I'm just saying it kind of had that feel of like, gosh, it feels like they're wanting me to taste this. Free money, UBI, universal basic income. It's almost like that's how I felt. Like, here, have this spoonful of it, see if you like it or not. And I think and again with middle class, of course, middle class likes it when every week you pump $800 in their checking account for them, right? And it to me it just felt like that kind of test was being made to see if we could come back and do an overall UBI, type of plan with there. Which again, to me is is that fear of you're getting really freaking close to the high levels of socialism approach, which for me, when capitalism, to me, it was built America is the capitalistic side of it. You're getting closer and closer, or further and further away from that capitalistic approach in America.
Well, fortunately, America is still the best, most capitalistic society, country in the world. So we still have our fair share of problems. Call us the cleanest shirt in the laundry.
And the dirty clothes.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're following the path of Rome. We're doing exactly what Rome did to their collapse. We're putting more and more currency, not money, but currency.
Yeah, paper.
It's paper.
Yeah.
Which is debt, and so we're in massive debt.
Right.
To the tune of almost $80 trillion collectively, and that's not even including unfunded liabilities.
Right.
You throw that into the mix, it's almost $280 trillion of unfunded liabilities. So we're massively in debt. You compare our debt to the GDP, and it's like 131%.
Right.
It's crazy. So we're like top 3 in the world as far as debt to GDP. Japan being number 1. The point I'm trying to make is that we are overspending, and we don't have assets or productivity backing that debt. If we had productivity where we can produce and sell, right. To generate revenue and have the taxes pay for that debt, we'd be okay. But every year we're further and further into debt, and that divide or that gap continues.
Go back to what you do. Is that a good reason for people to buy real estate?
Yes, because it's an inflation hedge. If we're in an inflationary environment now, which we are
right now,
and we're going to continue to be in an inflationary environment, then inflation is your friend if you hold hard assets like gold, silver, precious metals.
So when inflation's going up, you're in an inflation market, you want to hold the hard assets.
Right, and real estate is one of the best, if not the best, because it's a natural inflation hedge. Real estate is sticks, bricks, concrete, and copper.
Okay.
Put on land, and those things will appreciate as the value of the dollar is diminished.
So when dollars go down,
when the purchasing power of the dollar drops, as it continues to drop, which it has since 1913,
right,
when the Federal Reserve was brought into being.
Yeah, Jekyll Island.
Yep, from Jekyll Island. Then we've been in an inflationary environment the whole time, and that's why you see prices go up. It's not the value that's going up; it's the price that's going up. Yeah. It's artificial. So real estate is the best because it's income producing. It's a hedge against inflation. It's a hard asset. It'll always have value. People need a place to live. It has the best tax advantages. So why wouldn't you invest in real estate? I mean, really, why wouldn't you invest in real estate?
So if people right now are afraid, let's just say, of economy, market, inflation, what's going on right now, the advice would be go put it into one place you could put it into is real estate because of the hard assets that are there. If they're sitting there afraid, like you said earlier, a lot of people are just holding, sitting there, not doing anything. They could go put it in real estate right now.
They should, not could.
They should go put it in real estate.
They should. The thing is you want 6 months of reserve emergency funds,
Okay.
right?
As a family or
Yeah, protect yourself first. Make sure
Okay.
you have, food, shelter, clothing.
It's kind of Marco's financial advice here.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
have 6 months of
you want
reserves.
Yeah, food, grub, right?
Okay.
Gold, guns.
The 3 Gs.
Ground, which is your land. You got
4
your home.
Gs.
Well, there's
You got
actually
any
a
more?
fifth G.
What's the fifth one?
Guns, gold, grub,
Ground.
ground, and I forgot. It'll come to me.
Girlfriends.
That helps too. We'll add that to the list. Girlfriends are
6.
important.
There's one more. You have to give me the other. You have to give me the other G right there, man. I like that. So gold, because of the value of what you can actually do with it in case
Yeah.
inflation collapse. Guns for protection and so forth. Ground, meaning the real estate you own.
Land, yeah.
Food, grub, which is the food there, and there's one more. Now you're gonna drive me with my ADD
I'm driving
crazy,
myself
man.
nuts because I can't remember the fifth G.
The 5th G right there.
It'll
All
come to me.
Anytime you think of it, shout it out so we can get it. So that's kind of Marco's 5 G steps there for financial advice there.
You need to have savings, like 3 to 6 months worth of
Yeah,
savings.
I've heard that a lot. The 6 months savings.
But
side.
beyond that, never save. You don't want to save for the sake of saving. That's dumb. And in growing up, I don't know about you, but most of us were indoctrinated by our parents mostly
Sure.
to save money. Because
9 years
save
old
for a
or
rainy
8
day.
years old, my dad took me to get a savings account.
Stupid advice.
Yeah.
Because
Thanks, Dad.
they didn't know any better because their parents taught them
Yeah,
the
that's
same
where it
thing.
comes from, right? It's why we have generationally poor families as well, because most advice for money is coming from family, and it's just passed down. The poor, broke philosophy, if you will, it's just passed down, right?
But that worked up until 1971. That was actually good advice because you actually made a good rate of return in a savings account from the bank when you saved money. But then Nixon took us off the gold standard on August 15th, 1971,
Okay.
and then the gold window was closed. At that point, the US dollar was no longer tied to a hard asset like gold. It was free floating with all the other currencies in the world. And so now we truly had a currency. It was no longer money. That was the end of real money.
Right.
So only real money is gold and silver, like precious metals. So the problem with saving is that, and the reason it's flawed advice, and parents still say save your money.
Right. Yeah, it's still taught.
The question is, why are you saving your money?
Right.
It's not producing anything.
Yeah.
In fact, it's flawed because now you're losing purchasing power every year. So if you believe government statistics and the rate of inflation is 2 to 3%, well, you're losing 2 to 3% of your purchasing power by having money in the bank in a savings account.
Right.
If you listen to John Williams of Shadow Stats, and you believe that real inflation is 4, 5, 6%, well, that's how much you're losing every year, right? So saving for the sake of saving is flawed advice. It's actually stupid. In fact, Robert Kiyosaki actually says savers are losers. And
Yeah,
they're
he has a
losers
whole
not
concept, yeah.
personality-wise, but
Right.
you're a loser because you're losing money, purchasing power.
But
every
you
year.
do believe in having that, whatever, 3 to 6 months, that kind of set aside
Yep.
As emergency funds. I had this conversation last night with someone, and they were literally making about 200 grand a month of income, and we had this conversation like basic understanding of, okay, you should have X amount of months set aside, and that savings that you're doing is fair, for the most part, completely worthless because of the inflation. You're making whatever 1%, 0.75% off that savings, and inflation is killing you. Therefore, you are losing your money, although it kind of feels like you are making money with it.
So here's the next step in all that, and this is where I was driving to. You do want to save, but you want to save as much as you can, as quick as you can, for the sole purpose of investing for the creation of cash flow.
Right.
So save as much as you can, and then go broke and stay broke because you want
Right. It's a
to
cycle.
create chunks of cash.
Right.
And the reason you want chunks of cash is to create streams of cash.
Chunks of cash or streams of cash.
Save to create chunks of cash, and then invest that right away and turn it into streams of cash, such as income-producing real estate. And the more streams of cash you have, the more financially free you're going to become.
Yeah.
The sooner you'll become financially free.
I like that. So you're creating chunks of cash to be able to go buy, meaning like in your world,
Income-producing assets.
using that as a down payment.
Yep.
To go buy income-producing assets, which is at the point, there was one point of my career where I had so much income-producing assets that it was literally creating me my chunks of money every month was actually created through
Right.
income-producing assets at that.
Yeah, you
at some point.
redeploy it. You reinvest, whether you're investing in businesses or income-producing real estate or whatever else it may be.
Yeah.
But your ultimate goal is to put that money to work. You don't want it to be eroded away because of inflation. You put it to work.
You hear Grant Cardone talking a lot about cash is trash. He used that terminology a lot. I believe that's what he's talking about, what you're talking about. I believe is what he's referring to that, meaning you don't want to hold on to that cash. You want to save it, like you're talking about, create the stash, I think you said. And then I believe what he's saying by that is he wants to unload that cash to buy income-producing assets. Are you saying the same thing, that cash is kind of trash?
Yeah, exactly the same thing. And Kiyosaki says that a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cash is trash. Cash is trash. Well, think about it. Even if it didn't have any intrinsic value, which it doesn't, it's just a medium of exchange. A currency is nothing more than paper, and it's a debt. It's really a debt. But it's paper. I mean, what could you do with it at the end of the day? Nothing. It's not really tradable. The only reason we use it to trade is because you and I agree that it's going to have a value of exchange.
It's the
and I'm going to
convenience
give you
of it, right?
$10, in exchange for your pack of smokes or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, you can burn it.
That must be California prices, man. $10 for a pack of cigarettes.
Oh, it's all taxes.
My gosh, dude.
And I don't smoke, so I don't know.
I don't either, but I can imagine $10 for a pack. My God, I don't know. Maybe that is a going price. I don't know.
More than that, actually.
Yeah, probably more in California. Look, Mark, let's jump into you've been super successful, right, in business, life, finances. Give the viewers, like in your 16 years of just in the 16 years of real estate that you came from technology background and marketing background as well. But just in those 16 years, man, what would be some of those key philosophies or principles that you feel like kind of shaped or forced your success to take place? Is there any thing that you live by, or you feel like, man, I always use this philosophy or principle?
I don't know why I find that a really difficult question, because nothing jumps out in my mind like that. But if I look back at what I did, I did work hard. I was tenacious. If people were to describe me, they would call me annoyingly persistent, tenacious, unbelievably focused. You just have to have laser focused. And something that's probably a new philosophy that I've adopted as the years went by is learn how to think bigger than you actually think and force yourself to scale.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be a true business or a big business unless you actually scale your business. I actually was talking to my wife the other day, and I said to her, you got to set big goals. She's kind of going through this personal development phase right now, which is new for her, and it's great that she's doing it. But she, we were talking about goal setting, and I told her, I said, you need to set goals, you need to write them down, you need to set big goals. And I said to her, I actually asked her the question, how do you know if your goal is big enough? How do you actually know if the goal is big enough, like you're thinking big enough? And she paused and looked up and thought about it, and she didn't come up with the answer. I said, it makes you very uncomfortable.
Interesting.
You got to think big enough, and your goal needs to be so big that it actually makes you uncomfortable thinking about it.
Yeah.
If you don't start to sweat and fear and shake about how the heck am I going to create that, it's not big enough.
That's a good one, man. I think I could see that a lot in people, and you find successful people, and you have that big. Even sometimes, I even say for me, sometimes I am careful what I say around even staff or family, because I'm thinking, man, if I tell them what I actually am thinking, big picture, I may actually really scare these people away from me. But it's also what keeps me motivated and driving, and and almost to get those go together. Like when you think that big and that where it's almost scary and nervous, even to you, it terrifies sometimes other people. Is also where I think that tenacity comes from, though, because when it's that big out there, the tenacity is what's driving you. That grit, determination of relentlessness, if you will, that just keeps pushing and keep driving. I think all those go together. You mentioned laser focus too. I can see this big goal done here, but it's the tenacity, the laser focus that is pushing you towards that success right there. Do you have any on the goals? You gave one great piece of advice, which I love. The question I'm trying to get to is do you have any advice on how to create that goal, that big goal that's out there? And I know you gave one, which is, does it make you uncomfortable, as kind of a guiding light there? Any other advice you have on how to create that goal and know if it's big enough? Any other thoughts there?
Yeah, you have to have a big enough why. Some people call it a big, hairy, audacious goal. And the problem is a lot of people focus on how to do something. I want to do this, or I want to do that, or I want to achieve this, and then they start immediately focusing on how am I going to do that? Well, it's a good question, but that's secondary. The question is, why do you want to do that?
Right.
If it's for your family or to help 1 million people achieve something, which it's kind of what I turned my mission into.
Yeah, you have that in your mission statement, right? To help 1 million people
Yeah.
Financial freedom?
It's to help 1 million people create wealth and passive income. Now you may put me on the spot. Help 1 million people create wealth and passive income to achieve financial freedom through real estate.
Okay. That's a huge goal. 1 million people that's a lot of freaking people, man.
Yeah. Now that doesn't mean that they're going to be a million clients,
Right,
customers
sure.
that we're helping. But through the podcast, through the book, through Money Is, through all the various platforms, social media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you combine all that together, I want to be able to reach 1 million people and kind of nudge them or push them in the direction of getting their financial house in order.
Right. So that goal setting is creating that goal big enough, like the goal that you have there, creating that goal big enough that it's that scary, hairy, audacious goal that you have in your life that you kind of live by.
Yeah. What do you want your gravestone to say? What's your epitaph?
Yeah. And then you went to that. You got to know what that why is.
Well, yeah, that should be answered in there somewhere.
Yeah. I did a great. I remember I did a great. One of my favorite kind of videos I did one time was living between the dash. You talk about the gravestone, and you talked about in a cemetery you have the tombstone that says whatever, born in 1974, and then dash, and then died in 2000, whatever it is. And it's funny because I was talking about it, I said basically you're living the dash, and what are you making out of that dash right there? We know when you were born, and we know when you're going to die, but what is that dash all about? And that little bitty dash is your entire life that you're living through. You know what I mean?
So I give credit to an old friend of mine who passed away. I forgot what he had. I think he had cancer or something. But he had a great little saying, and this would be perfect for his gravestone. But you're born with nothing, you die with nothing, and everything in between is Christmas.
That's a good one. Everything in between there is Christmas, huh?
Yeah.
I like that. Speak on this right here, man. What I want to do is, we do this whole money is concept, and we have the line there for people to determine what their, and that's really what the whole reason I started this brand was to help people really understand why do you want money? Like money is what? What does it mean to you? What is the purpose of it? Which you're trying to break through that ground like you're talking about. You have to know why you want money. I think you would probably know this in this concept of like most of the time you could tell someone who doesn't have money, if you gave them $10 million and said, what do you want to do with it? And then you're going to replenish it, they actually run out of things to spend it on, right? They ever say, I would do this, and this. Eventually they actually run out of things that they actually want because they don't understand what their bigger purpose is, kind of with money. So in my studio, we have all these signs, and we have this one right here made for you, and this is your bio right there or picture. Money is blank, and so what we're going to do is I'm going to have you put a word here or sentence, whatever it is, phrase here. I'm going to have you sign it here. I'm going to put it in my office. I'm very interested to see what yours is because you're somebody, I guess, all different backgrounds, right? I mean, I interview fighters and bloggers and all kinds of people. You have a lot of knowledge in that financial money background, and so I'm extremely intrigued to see what yours is. Let me get you make sure I got a silver marker here for you. You take this right here.
I might not sign this now just to keep the line straight.
That's fine. You can sign it in my office where you want to.
That's pretty cool.
Look at
I
that.
love it.
And so you can write the phrase. Let's just do the phrase, then we do signature afterwards. So you put whatever your word, your phrase. Yep, write it right now.
All right.
And then I'm going to have you explain it to the guest as to what your phrase and how you came up with it is here.
All right.
Marco does everything with intent and purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you kind of give me the pen first. We'll do the sig later.
I should have made the lines thicker so you could read it.
All right, let's see. Let me see it here. So this is Marco's word. Money is a game. I love this because so many people answer it differently, and there's common words that we talk about, and I love it when people come up with their own personalized, real meaning of it. And I knew you would because you understand money. I have a certain word here too that I use that no one's ever mentioned.
No one's ever used this?
No one's ever used this word right here.
All right.
No one ever used this word. So I'm going to have you explain it because I love this word. And I use this word in money all the time. But I want to see what your angle, what your position there was with money is a game.
All right.
What does that mean to you?
So I woke up at about 2 a.m. because we talked about this. You got to come up with a word, and I didn't know what the word was going to be, right? And I thought of the common things like freedom, control. I'm not sure what the other
opportunity.
guys were. Opportunity. Oh, those are all true.
Yes, very true.
But they're very, very specific. And I thought, well, there's more to it than that because that's very limiting. I don't want to put freedom because it's true, but there's more to it. I wanted to capture more. So I thought about it, woke up 2 a.m. I was like, holy crap, that's it. Money is a game. And
So you woke up out of a dead sleep,
yeah, pretty much.
came
more or
up
less.
with the thought of your answer.
Money is a
So
game.
you were hyper focused on this.
Yeah, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, the more I got jazzed, and it kept
Yeah.
me up. And then I picked up my iPhone, and I started registering all the domain names, filing a trademark for it.
So you already been to GoDaddy and bought it?
Yes.
So you own Money as a Game?
I own all of them except for one of them, and I
Yeah.
have an offer in to purchase it.
That is so great. Yeah. So at 2:30, that's what you were doing this morning.
Well, that was at 5 in the morning, but the next 3 hours. And so I figured, you know what, maybe I could turn that into something like, again,
Yeah.
marketing, branding, whatever
yeah, sure.
it is.
Because you're a marketing branding guy.
I wouldn't lead with it, but
Right.
but maybe I'll create a program out of it called
Sure.
Money is a Game or something.
Yeah.
And drive them to.
Sometimes I have my best ideas in the middle of the night. I swear to God I do.
Yeah.
I wake up with like, oh my God, this is brilliant. And sometimes I do it and I wake up and I think, oh my God, this is brilliant. And then like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, wow, that was a horrible idea. That was actually an atrocious idea. But sometimes my best ideas are at random waking up in the middle of the night
Absolutely.
with stuff, man.
Well, you're always thinking. You've got the creativity cap on and
Yeah.
you're thinking.
And I do the same thing. I have my iPhone by my bed,
Yeah.
and that's how I do it. Because if not, I'll forget it. Right? I had this thing where I like would think about stuff. I'd wake up and think about it, but then I'd fall back to sleep later, and it would, I'd forget it, whatever. And so I have to do the same thing. I keep an iPhone just for the notes taking on my app
Yeah.
right there. Do you do that a lot?
I take notes from time to time, but usually not in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It's usually I just think, and then go back to sleep.
So money's a game. Let's
So-
go back to it. What is it? What do you mean by that?
So why is money a game?
Yeah.
Here's why I think money is a game or like a game. Why do we play games? We play to have fun, to win, clearly. Maybe that should be the first thing, is we play a game to win.
Okay.
If you're an entrepreneur or you're in business, you're playing to win.
Yeah.
You're not
sure.
going to think small. You got to think big. So we play to win.
Right.
We play to have fun.
Yeah.
There are rules that are in games.
There always are rules.
And there are rules with money.
Yeah, 100%.
Everything you do with money and running a business, you follow a set of rules.
Right.
Right? And there's strategy involved in the game. You play chess or cash flow 101 or whatever it is.
Right.
You've got strategy on how to win the game better,
Yeah.
faster, with more money, more points, more whatever it is. So if you look at all the pieces and elements that make up games, you can apply them to money. I mean, you're basically just playing the game of life.
Yep.
It's the game of money.
Yep. I always say that dude, I just like we get along so good on this concept. I always say that money is the game. Is one of the things I always talk about. So I think a lot of times people get hyper focused on something else, right? Especially when you talk about like people like, I'll use myself as an example, who don't come for money. I think a lot of times we get hyper focused on the wrong game. And so what happens is we end up playing a different, we play whatever it is, let's just say real estate, right? And we hyper focus on real estate. And I did this when I first started. I knew everything about real estate. I could flip houses, and that was my background, right? And I would do 100 houses, and I could tell you everything about flipping a house. But I actually knew very little about money. I knew everything about real estate, right? It's like a doctor, right? And I'm sure you've dealt with this with your cash flow side of it, where like you have a super successful person in their field, in their occupation, whatever it is, right? They are like one of the best out there in ABC. But it does not mean that just because you're successful at being a doctor, that you'll be successful at money.
True.
Those are two different concepts.
True.
And I think a lot of times we get what we get confused about is what is the game and what is the vehicle. Like what's going around the game, the board game, right? You talk about board games a lot. And to me, like just use Monopoly, the game is money. And the vehicle is just whatever you chose, right? You could choose real estate or stock or apartment, whatever it is, right? There's different vehicles that you choose. And I think a lot of times people get hyper-focused on the vehicle and they miss the point on the actual game that you're playing is money. Why do you buy real estate? Because I'm wanting something out of it. What do I want out of it? Money. I want money out of it.
Yeah, and think about this. Whatever you choose to do in your life, a lot of people make the mistake of going through school and educating themselves to do something because
Man, I love that word.
they think that
Is that the fifth G?
it's not.
That's not the fifth G
the
is game?
The fifth G is gas.
You figured it out. It was gas?
It's gas.
Gas in the sense of like buying gasoline and oil and that
Fuel.
side of it?
Yeah,
Fuel?
you need
That's
gas.
the fifth G.
Yes.
Okay, so write that down. Don't forget that. All right, good.
So people go to school and they educate themselves not in finance or how to make money,
Yeah.
but they educate themselves on how they're going to choose their career path, what kind of job or career they're going to get into.
Right.
Right, and this is another conversation, by the way.
Maybe for the office we'll do it.
But the point I want to make is this: money is so many things.
Right.
But another reason it's a game is, think about it. You get to a point where you've made enough money, and even if you haven't, you'll do this.
Okay.
You use your checking account or your bank account as a scorecard, just like in a game. you measure your score by the number of dollars you have. You measure your score by the value of your net worth. What am I worth? Oh, I'm worth $1 million. Great. That's my scorecard. Well, let's see if I can do more. See if I can improve upon that, right? I want to be worth $2 million. So it's a way of keeping score. I mean, that's what you're doing in life. You can't take it to your grave. So, money's a game and it should be fun. And here's the thing. Here's where you tie those two things together about your job or your career, the vehicle that you're calling a vehicle, along with the financial success and education that you get. When you merge them together, if you do what you love and it's fun, that's a great thing to be doing and you should keep doing it. And that vehicle, if you're making money at it, now you have the thing that will produce the income that you can invest to create the passive income. So you can do what gives you flow, what gives you energy, what you love to do, and create financial independence and financial freedom at the same time. A lot of people make the mistake of becoming a dentist or whatever it is, and they hate it after so many years, and they regret it. They spent so much time in school and money going and getting that education, but now they're kind of stuck. They're in a position where they can't leave it because they've got family and they've got bills to pay, and it's kind of a unfortunate situation. But that's again the school system. It's all academic education or professional education. It's not financial education. People spend their lives going through life and school getting academic and professional education, but not financial education.
I love that, dude. I love so much the answer of money is a game. How once you can figure out how to play, just like anything else, man. Once you figure out how to play the game, you can play it as fast as you want to, as often as you want to, whenever you want to. But you have to learn what you call the rules. You got to learn those rules of the game. What you can, like in every game, there's things you can do and things you cannot do, right? And whether it be a sport, as in baseball, you cannot hit the ball and run to third base first. You got to go. There's a certain path you got to take. There's rules to it, right? And you have to abide by those rules. And the more that you understand them, the more that you can play it, right? And it's like, if you go watch, I travel a lot and speak overseas, and sometimes I would be in my hotel room watching cricket. The sport of cricket, like in London, and I have no idea how to keep score on that or how it works, and therefore the game is very frustrating to me because I don't know what they're doing and why they're putting the ball in certain places. It becomes very frustrating. But the game of money, once you understand those rules that you talk so much about, it enables you to play the game as much as you want to. Speaking of your rules, okay, you got this book here that you are about to release, right? So give me a close-up on the book here. This is called Passive Real Estate Investing, right? Which is also the name of your website?
One of the websites and the podcast.
And the podcast you, right? It's Passive Real Estate Investing. When is this coming out? I know it's new. When's it coming out? When are you going to release it?
End of summer, early fall.
Okay, so end of summer, early fall. Give me a quick 30,000-foot view to the viewers here. What is the book about? Basically what you're talking about today with money and rules and how it all works. What's the book about?
Yeah, a lot of the rules that we're touching upon are in the book and on the podcast. Funny thing is a lot of the rules that we want to learn about the game of money or money as a game is free. It's out there, and it's really just learning how to make money and how other people have made money and mirroring or copying what they've done. People who are successful, if you mirror them, Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. If you copy that, follow what other people have done, you'll be successful too. Well, real estate is one of the things that is tried and true. It's been tried and true for decades, hundreds of years. And so if you just follow the rules, you can become successful, you'll create wealth, you'll create passive income. So I just want to talk about why should you invest in real estate, why it's a good hedge against inflation, why it makes sense, why you should have passive income to create that financial freedom, what markets to look at, what neighborhoods to look at, how to evaluate a property, what numbers to be focused on to evaluate or underwrite your investments.
Do you go through all that stuff in here as well? Kind of the underwriting side of it or the number side of it?
Yeah, the important stuff. Yeah.
The high level. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All the important stuff.
So this book's come out this
let's call it
fall.
Early fall.
This fall, early fall. Where do they find the book at? Where do they get the book at? Copy of it.
Go to the real estate, the podcast website, passiverealestateinvesting.com. It's probably the easiest place. By the way, I will say that I'm giving the book away for free.
Okay. So on your website, you are on the website?
Yeah, it will be. It's a freebie. So if you want the book, you can download it right from the website. If you want the paperback, it's like $6 for shipping and handling. But the book is free.
Yeah. So if you guys get the book for free on your website as a downloaded PDF version of it. And then if they want to buy a copy, you go ship it to them $6 where the price is.
It's just to cover the shipping,
Yeah. And that'll start this fall. That you'll release right here. Is this the first book you've written?
It's the first full-length book that I've written. I have co-written 2 other books that are on Amazon #1 bestsellers, but that's the full.
Are you going to put this on Amazon as well, or just on your website?
Both.
You'll put it on
but if you
Amazon
want
as
it for
well.
free, go to the website.
Very cool, man. I'm gonna get it because I love your brain, how it works on the money side of it here. Last question for this interview right here, man. I have absolutely loved having you on. I cannot wait to get to my office and have some deeper conversation with you as well. But last thing I want to give to you here is kind of set the floor for you, man. If you leave the viewers with like one last piece of Marco wisdom here of life, money, whatever you want to go into, what's that one piece of wisdom you would kind of leave the viewer on today with? What would be the concept?
I have more than one, unfortunately. Really, the thing is a lot of people think about what they should do and actually don't take action and do it. There's a saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Right.
The next best time is plant the tree today.
Today.
So with that, it's never too late. My number one rule of my 10 rules of successful real estate investing, which is the top of the blogs on both websites, so you could read these 10 for yourself, is to educate yourself.
Yeah.
You really need to work up here first. You can't manifest and create all these things without actually working on your mindset and building your education. So rule number one is don't invest in real estate, invest in yourself first. Build this before you venture off and do other things. So work on yourself, educate yourself, be a perpetual student, never stop learning, and continually build your financial education. Everything else too, but build your financial education. Because the smarter you become, the more you learn, the more opportunities you will find and see, and the more you can act, the more opportunities you can act on, and the more successful you'll become.
Right.
So the best investment is an investment in yourself.
The best investment is investment in yourself.
Educate yourself.
So you kind of gave two right there, right? You gave one would be educate yourself first.
Educate yourself.
Right. The other one you were talking about is really just not overthinking it and taking action. Just move forward in this process. That would be one piece of it. The second kind of piece of advice there you gave was educate yourself first before you jump into real estate or stocks, whatever it may be. But put it in yourself first. I've always said that we are the best investment you'll ever make. Is here, right into yourself. It is the number one highest producing, best ROI you'll ever get is here, putting it here first, right? I think that's what you're saying there is like put that in your first. And you mentioned your blog. Is your blog on the same site as well?
Yeah, both websites have it.
Have the blog on it as well?
Yeah.
How often do you write blogs? Is it a weekly thing or?
1 or 2 a week.
Oh, really? One or two blogs a week? You put them on LinkedIn, social media?
Yeah.
You put them on there as well?
Yeah, we push it out.
Speaking of that, what is your handle there, if you will? You said Instagram was your favorite.
Yeah, most of them are at Marco Santarelli.
Okay, use your name at Marco
my name.
Santarelli.
I couldn't get that on Instagram. I even offered to pay the guy who has Marco Santarelli on Instagram. He never responded, so it's Marco G. Santarelli. My middle initial.
The middle initial G.
Yeah.
Santarelli.
Yeah.
All those are probably on your website as well. If they go to your website,
Yes.
click on them, and they'll send them over to your
Yes.
social media sites as well. Man, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I've had a great interview with you. A couple of takeaways, man. Just thinking, we went to so many different avenues there, and I had so many different thoughts, and I think I'm going to sum it up into one thought because I got 1,000 of them. And I think it's actually the answer to your money is. Because I think that answer has so much deep meaning into it that if people really dive into what you mean by a game and the deep philosophical side of what that actually is referring to right there, I think it would go into 1,000 different directions, kind of what we talked about. But that would be my key takeaway if you're watching today. Dive deeper into what does it mean when Marco's talking about money as a game? Because I think it's the big key to success right there is understanding your money is a game solution there. One thing I got here, let me see how close. It was close. We'll talk about it. This was our buddy that guessed your word here. I'll do it in my office. It was a close one. All right, guys, that's it today for the Money Is Show. I hope you enjoyed the show today. This is, again, Marco Santarelli. Last website here for your book is passiverealestateinvesting.com. Your podcast as well is passive real estate investing.com as well for your podcast as well. Guys, this has been it with the Money Is Show and Marco Santarelli.